So last time we dived into the world of Doctor Who, we took a look at a very specific era featuring a charming northern bloke.
And I hope the planet turns round and shits on you.
This time we're jumping into another specific era featuring a skinny Scottish man putting on an English accent and sporting the mightiest of sideburns. Yes, that's right, we're exploring the Tennant era of Doctor Who, an era filled with classic assholes, villains, even more running than last time, and the phrase allons-y being uttered more times than you're likely to ever hear again in your lifetime.
Allons-y! 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 Allons-y!
And since this era is slightly longer than the last one we covered, and by slightly longer I mean it's fucking long, we're gonna split this era into 2 Film Facts videos. So if you had questions like what absolutely forgettable TV show did the 10th Doctor appear on, what were some of the techniques used to bring one of the most terrifying Doctor Who villains to life, not that one, and who really let the dogs out, then we got the answers for you, except the dogs one.
Oh, I can't wait. Allons-y!
Oh, would you look at that, it's number 1. So Doctor Who was finally back on our tellies after being somewhat dead after the tour de force that was the Doctor Who movie, and the first season to this newly revived show was over, with a regeneration of the 9th Doctor and the arrival of a new one in the form of David Tennant. The Tennant era lasted for 3 official seasons of Doctor Who, 4 special episodes and various mini episodes, such as the Children in Need episode where the 10th Doctor meets an older, or younger, or whatever, version of himself in the form of Peter Davison. This era would also see several companions come and go. Each of them would bring a unique aspect to the show. Also during this era, the universe of Doctor Who grew larger than ever before, with not 1 but 2 spin-off shows. During this era, the show also experienced several cosmetic changes, including improved visual and special effects following a larger budget, a newly designed theme tune, and with the advent of HD on our television screens, Doctor Who was able to present the episodes towards the end of this era with a clearer picture and sound. This era of Doctor Who ran from 2005 to 2010. Number 2. So David Tennant plays the 10th Doctor, and much like Eccleston's Doctor, this new incarnation of the character brought something new to the show. This Doctor was much more human-like than previous incarnations. He was also younger, more energetic, friendly, but still had his dark side and his charismatic charm. This Doctor also dropped the northern accent that the previous Doctor held for a more southern accent. Tennant's Doctor also came with a whole new costume, sporting his suit, trench coat and Converses. According to an interview with David Tennant and Russell T Davies, the idea for the 10th Doctor's costume came from an outfit that the chef Jamie Oliver wore during an interview. Rose remained the Doctor's companion for Tennant's first season, and a much stronger love arc was explored between the 2 characters. This helped to reinforce the 10th Doctor's more human side. Tennant's Doctor would have a unique chemistry with each of his main companions, which helped to bring in a fresh new feel every time a new companion was introduced. Because of his long running time in the show, his human and charismatic personality, his relationship with fan favourite characters, and having been featured in several highly praised Doctor Who episodes, the 10th Doctor is often favoured by many fans of the show and regularly finds himself near the top of Best Doctor lists. Ooh, it's number 3. During the 10th Doctor's era, the show's popularity began rising rapidly and was the height of Russell T Davies' time as showrunner. Because of this, the 10th Doctor and the show in general was spoofed many times in many shows. Singer and actress Charlotte Church spoofed Doctor Who alongside someone playing the 10th Doctor on her show, The Charlotte Church Show. Which is, well, if I'm honest, I had filed in my brain under things I will never have to remember ever again. Tennant also featured on the Catherine Tate show for one special episode where he starred as a teacher who eventually reveals himself to be the 10th Doctor.
Are you the Doctor?
Doctor Who.
And of course, Catherine Tate would also star in Doctor Who herself, alongside David Tennant as his companion Donna Noble. Tennant also appeared in an episode of Family Guy where he guest voiced his incarnation of the Doctor, and also appeared in full costume as his character in a sketch with the Muppets at the O2 Arena for their live performance. But it wasn't just spoofs and cheeky cameos that the 10th Doctor appeared for. It's number 4. As the face of the Doctor Who franchise from 2005 to 2010, the 10th Doctor appeared extensively in Doctor Who spin-off media. The character appeared in a number of Doctor Who novels. The 10th Doctor also appears extensively in comic books. A mini-series was published featuring the 10th Doctor and Martha Jones. This was later followed by a truly ongoing 10th Doctor series in July 2009. Set during the 2008 to 2010 specials and lasting 16 issues before relaunching with the 11th Doctor. Outside of Doctor Who literature, the 10th Doctor and Rose Tyler appeared as a cameo in the panel of Buffy the Vampire Slayer Season 8 story arc, No Future for You. I got 5 on it. Oh, copyright strike. So let's take a look at the first half of the 10th Doctor's era. So the 9th Doctor regenerated into the 10th, and in the mini episode that followed for Children in Need called Born Again, the Doctor reintroduces himself to Rose while also attempting to reassure her. And doing a really bad job at it. Tennant's first real full-on episode was the Christmas special that followed, entitled The Christmas Invasion. Weirdly enough though, he's in a coma for most of the episode following his regeneration. Tennant's first full-on season was of course season 2.
Outside those doors, we might see anything. We could find new worlds, terrifying monsters, impossible things. And if you come with me, nothing will ever be the same again.
Doctor Who, Saturday at 7:15 on BBC One.
Season 2, much like Season 1, would continue to reintroduce classic foes. This time round we had the Cybermen with a whole new design. Season 2 would also reintroduce an old companion from the classic era of Doctor Who, in the form of Sarah Jane Smith, and even the Doctor's robotic dog K9. Also, much like the previous season, Season 2 had a running story arc that ran in the background until the finale of the season. This time round it was Torchwood, an anti-alien organisation with several bases across the UK. Torchwood would of course be revisited in a spin-off series featuring John Barrowman. Another spin-off show that would be born from this season is the Sarah Jane Adventures, and while Torchwood would be aimed at a more older audience tackling some fairly adult themes, the Sarah Jane Adventures would be much more kid-orientated. Oh, don't believe it, it's number 6. So, after Season 2, we of course got ourselves another Christmas special, this time entitled The Runaway Bride, which would feature future companion Donna Noble. The episode was mostly a self-contained episode, however, events from the previous episode are touched on with the loss of Rose, and elements of this episode would later be expanded on in future episodes. Then it was on to Season 3, baby, and this time round we got another new companion in the form of Martha Jones.
I battle with my textbooks.
I battle with monsters.
I try to save money.
I try to save the universe.
I'm going to be a doctor.
I am the Doctor.
Well, let's hope this box is big enough for the both of us.
Doctor Who, coming soon to BBC One.
The season would follow a similar structure to what had been established in the previous 2 seasons, however we can't talk about Season 3 without mentioning a particular episode in general, that being Blink. But we'll get into that later. And of course, Season 3 also continued the trend of bringing back classic villains, this time in the form of the Doctor's arch-enemy, the Master. The Master would mark the first time in the revival series that we would see 2 active Time Lords. The Master would be played by John Sim, and his story arc for Season 3 would last for 3 continuous episodes. Sim would later reprise this role several more times in later seasons. John Sim's Master was deliberately made younger to match the younger 10th Doctor, as this incarnation was designed to be the evil version of the Doctor, a glimpse into what the Doctor could end up being if he let his worst instincts take over. This Master, much like the 10th Doctor, was also very energetic and animated, but he also seemed very unstable. The Master is first introduced in the episode Utopia. This episode would also see Captain Jack return to the show, this time being teamed up with the 10th Doctor. Number 7, baby. Number 7. So let's talk about Blink. Yeah, you know, the episode that will fucking scar you for life, and also give you the gift of a phobia for statues. Thanks, Doctor Who! Blink was written by Stephen Moffat. Part of the story for Blink is based on Moffat's 9th Doctor short story from the Doctor Who Annual 2006 called What I Did on My Christmas Holidays by Sally Sparrow. Moffat had held the idea of the Weeping Angels since seeing an angel statue in a graveyard whilst on a family holiday. To create the rigid structure of the angels, fabric was soaked in fiberglass resin, which was then painted over. Although they are never shown moving on screen, all of the Weeping Angels were played by actresses wearing makeup and prosthetics. The actresses wore 2 distinct masks, one that was more docile looking, and one that looked like a fucking nightmare. Although the actresses were slightly wobbly when they stood still, the producers used digital effects to, in essence, freeze the angels on film. Blink has been praised very highly among fans and critics and is often cited as being one of the greatest episodes of Who. The angels would return again in several other episodes in future seasons and would quickly take their place among some of the great villains of Doctor Who. You wanna know a secret? It's number 8. So let's take a look at the 10th Doctor's companions for the first half of this era, starting off with Rose Tyler. Rose of course only lasted for one full season with Tennant, but her chemistry with him and her time with the 9th Doctor helped Rose become a pivotal companion to the Doctor. Her character remains largely the same from the previous season, though a few changes were made. Rose this time round is a little more confident and much more independent. By the end of the season, however, it was decided to remove Rose from the show. Well, sort of. And so her character is pulled into a parallel universe which is locked off from the Prime universe. The loss of Rose would be a story theme that would reappear several times throughout Tennant's run, including the Christmas special that followed right after the end of season 2. Going into season 3, however, we are introduced to a new companion for Tennant, Martha Jones. Martha was a medical student when she first meets the Doctor, and after their first episode together, she would take her role as the Doctor's new companion. She's first introduced in the year 2008, although earlier in the conception process, her character was scripted to come from the year 1914. Martha would have a running theme through her season 3 run, that being her affection for the Doctor, which would later be resolved at the end of the season when she decides to leave him in order to move on with her life and pursue her Doctor career. Martha would last for just one season, but this would not be her final appearance in the show. Martha would return for several more episodes in season 4 and even guest star in season 2 of Torchwood, helping to establish her as a real solid character in the Who universe. Good heavens, number 9. Season 3 of Doctor Who would have many firsts. First time seeing the Master and another Time Lord in the revival show. First time Jack Harkness would officially meet the 10th Doctor, and this would also be the first time that the show would acknowledge the spin-off show of Torchwood, having showed the symbol for the show and even in mentioning the department of Torchwood in which the show follows. Although apart from Barrowman, none of the rest of the cast members of Torchwood are seen. However, Torchwood would again appear in Doctor Who, and this time would feature some of the cast members and even the main set of the show. I say, old chap, it's number 10. So after season 3 had concluded, there was one little treat left for Who fans before the eventual Christmas special. That treat was in the form of a mini episode named Time Crash. Time Crash was written by Stephen Moffat and starred David Tennant as the Doctor, of course, and Peter Davison as the Doctor, of course. This mini episode was created for the charity Children in Need and saw for the first time the new Who era directly interacting with classic Who. The episode was first conceived by executive producers Julie Gardner and Russell T Davies. Gardner had asked Stephen Moffat to write the special with the idea that the scene could be shot in one day and on one set and required no CGI effects. Peter Davison was approached to reprise the role as the 5th Doctor in July 2007 and accepted the role to impress his children. To replicate the 5th Doctor's attire, the production team borrowed items from the Doctor Who exhibition in Blackpool and knitted a cricket jumper to reflect the style worn from the 5th Doctor's episode Warriors of the Deep. The Doctor Who Confidential episode that followed Time Crash revealed that the trousers Davison wore in Time Crash were the same pair that Colin Baker wore in his early scenes in the episode The Twin Dilemma, which was Colin Baker as the 6th Doctor's first full episode. You know, the one where he chokes the fucking life out of that poor woman. Jesus Christ, Doctor. Well, there you go, 10 facts about the first half of Tennant's era of Doctor Who. If you guys like this, then make sure you stay tuned as we dive into the second part of Tennant's era of Doctor Who. And if you want to support the channel, or if you just want to see the next part, then why not subscribe and hit the bell thingy to stay notified. But also let me know down in the comments any facts you can tell us about this half of Tennant's era. And if you're feeling generous, then why not give this video a like, or even share it. Any and all those things really help us out a lot. But thanks for watching, guys.